thought it was. Still don't see out the 24th season couldn't find a beautiful ending, but I'll give it my all to leave no regrets in the rest of my professional career. I thought the rumor was that he was retiring after Worlds. So this is. Oh wait, I didn't hit top right. I'm an idiot. Okay, I didn't hit top right. I thought it was that he was retiring after Worlds. So this is a little bit surprising. Oh. Okay. What is this? Alright, let's see. What else do we got here? Sources: former Nongshim Red Force players Mihail and Call Me are set to join Misa Esports and TCL. This is always the method that ends up happening, obviously, with Korean imports, is they're forced to basically go to a secondary league first and then sort of prove themselves in a way, and then they can get promoted or something. So CNM reported a worse mid laner than the other one going to ERL. What do you mean? Loki is a rookie to be developed. They were both playing in LCK-CL. Call Me was an LCK before, though, an HLE Academy player played better. So, here's the thing. So, obviously, there... Let me actually see if we have this. Yeah, Loki. So, obviously, I made my tweet. And if people don't know what I'm referring to by my tweet, let me actually see if I can get it up. Hold on. 1 second. Here. Let me just go to Sheep Esports on Twitter really quick, because I'll be able to find it. Sheep Esports. Sheep Esports. Alright, let me just go here really quick. What the hell is this? Where's Loki? Wow, they actually tweet a lot, don't they? Holy shite balls. Where's the Loki thing? Is it this that I quote retweeted? I think it was this that I quote retweeted. So, why can't I see my quote retweet? Maybe if I thought it would show green. Oh, here it is. So, I ended up making, I said that the TSMS arc has begun, and then I made this follow-up thing. And this is all on Loki joining. So here's the thing that ends up happening with teams, okay? Teams that are on top. So let's take a let's actually have like a paint. Let's open MS Paint or something, right? Let's open MS Paint, right? So teams that are on top. So you have T1. You have like in recent years Gen G, right? You have like Fnatic G2. You had TSM C9 and then TL to an extent. And then I'm not familiar enough with like some other regions, and I don't think this actually happens in China. And the reason that I don't think that it happens in China is because I think that there's a lot of like player GM stuff that goes on. And then in addition to player GM stuff, I think a lot of it is just money related. It actually has nothing to do with the org, because I don't think any of the players actually, yeah, I don't think org actually has as like much pull as like players and money does in China. So, okay, so you have these teams, and what ends up happening is T1, naturally, well, it used to be this way. I don't think it's this way actually anymore. And I think that, I don't think that it's this way anymore because actually a lot of people that are on T1 want to leave T1 because they know they can't promote. There's like very few exceptions. Like Gumiyushi was actually one of the few players that wanted to stay, even though it didn't look like he was going to be able to promote or something, because he just believed that eventually he could promote over Teddy. So most people on T1 don't actually want to stay anymore because, again, there's no trajectory. If you're a mid laner on T1, Academy, or Challengers, you have no future. You were never promoting over Faker. It is a dead, doomed role. Now, T1 wasn't always like this, right? Now, some people still want to join T1, I think, just for like the prestige of it, but realistically there's no ability to promote, there's no ability to have anything good go on. For Gen G, I think similar thing is actually happening right now, and I think this is going to become more and more common actually as LCK continues to develop, where it's just going to be very low promotion possibility. But if you look at teams like TSM and C9 and TL in the past, you actually always had basically the top players in the role. And because you always had the top players in the role, if you were a Talon or you were an amateur or something like that, and you were really high rated on the ladder. So let's take Griffin, right? Imagine we could pull Griffin out of modern day and bring him back to 2018 with the like rank achievements and everything that he has right now. Okay. If a bottom tier team, if like Immortals or Dig or, you know, 100 Thieves even, or like if any of these teams, Shopify, right? If any of these teams came to Griffin and the year is like 2018 and he has the achievements under his belt that he has, Griffin will just not talk to them at all. He won't even entertain it. Maybe he'll entertain it from like an agency perspective because obviously you want to negotiate higher contract and stuff. But Griffin is just going to wait until TSM, C9, or TL message. Now, if Griffin, you know, maybe TL didn't actually have like the achievements that it started getting until like recent years or something, so probably just TSM, C9. So what'll end up happening is Griffin, who's like the top talent available, is just not going to talk to anyone else. And it has nothing to do with TSM or C9's ability to scout. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It just has to do with the aura that the organizations have. Now, TSM obviously had this. TSM had it for years with Bjergsen, right? Everyone wanted to just play with Bjergsen. So you could get players for cheaper because you had Bjergsen, and you could get the absolute top talents because you had Bjergsen. Because so people would just gravitate towards your org, right? T1 also had this in many years ago to an extent with Faker. Now, there are some things still like this where, yes, people would probably want to play with Faker, but like look at T1, right? The last 3 years, 4 of the players are rookies. They all came up through T1, except for what, Keria? Yeah, except for Keria. Keria came over from DRX, and Keria obviously comes over from DRX because playing with Faker. So with that being said, this is pretty much the end of it for T1. Now, Fnatic was really close to having this happen. Fnatic was really close to having the TSM situation happen. Because Fnatic, when they lost Reckless, and when they let go of Bwipo, and, you know, they let go of Hylissang, and they let go of all of these iconic Fnatic players, etc., Fnatic's also, like, floundering about, right? Fnatic G2 still ends up being a pretty good consistency in terms of they do collide with each other. Pretty consistent, but Fnatic was failing to win, right? And then there's all this other stuff that comes out with Fnatic. There's all these like other stories, and there's like, you know, there's the public perception of the general manager, and there's all these other things that go on. So Fnatic begins to sort of like lose its aura. And if it wasn't for like sort of the fandom in a way, and the fact that at the very least they do still generally get really high placements in LEC, Fnatic is really close to basically becoming like almost Rogue-esque, where it's still a name that everyone recognizes and it's still a power name, but it's very close to just falling away. It just doesn't hold the same level of prestige. Now, G2 obviously has the same thing going on that, you know, yesteryear T1s had, yesteryear's TSM C9, etc. had, because they have caps. So everyone wants to play with caps. So because everyone wants to play with caps and they have Broken Blade, caps, everyone knows this now, and I think that there was an interview, right, that just came out like yesterday or maybe 2 days ago or something like that, that talked about how like caps basically is one of the GMs pretty much on G2. A lot of roster moves that you see, and it's really funny when you think about, you know, some of the roster cuts that G2 ended up having and the way that the fans and the public reacted to those roster cuts, and, you know, for the most part it was caps pushing for some of those roster cuts, or some of the roster changes and like other types of stuff. So G2 has this right now. So obviously like Skewmond is going to G2 now, and he's the person that got rank 1 3 splits in a row, and there's a lot of hype around Skewmond. There was also the attempted acquisition of Calliste, and I think that Calliste would have, so I could be getting this wrong. I believe Calliste wanted to go, but Karman Corp wouldn't let it happen. Now, when you think about Calliste and you think about the fandom that he has on Karman Corp, and you think about how that's been like a done deal for a while, and it's been like prophesized almost in a way, and everyone's expecting it, and Calliste is expecting it, etc. And then all of a sudden, there's an opportunity to play for G2, and he's willing to potentially jump ship, based on my understanding. He's willing to jump ship. That's because of caps. So this happens everywhere, and that is what this is talking about, right? Now, the thing about this, I don't know why that just did that. The thing about this, the second a team, Fnatic, TSM was obviously the most iconic org that this ever happened to. They lost Bjergsen. Hello. Is that you, APA?
Yes.
Oh, hello. All right, I'm in the middle of a discussion about the Loki acquisition, but so. The second that this happens, things go to shit. Now, a lot of people don't know this about C9, but a lot of C9's better hires all came from other people that are no longer in the org. And this is self-admitted to C9, that I think that they perceive like Max as one of their best pickups ever. Jack wanted to walk away from both Max and Vigar. In fact, after interviewing both of them, he decided to walk away from both. And this is in 2020. And I still have the DMs with Jack where I tell him to reconsider the walk away from both of them, and that they are two of the best in their field in like all of LoL esports, like including LCK. And I had that talk with Jack in 2020, and obviously this is not me joining C9. I'm on T1 having this talk with Jack, and he wanted to walk away from both of them. That was C9 going through their own accords to find people, and they wanted to walk away from two of the best people that they ever got a part of the org. Then in addition to that, there's the Perks acquisition, and Perks acquisition is also pushed by C9. And Perks' legacy and his like iconic status in the history of League of Legends is one thing. His performance in the last few years is another. And yes, he binked out on C9, and they had that like miracle run, and they had all that other stuff going on, but his actual individual level of play was just really low, and you could tell that it was really low even prior to him going to C9. So there's that. There was also some of the rosters that like I talked about below Cubby's tweet, Travis Gafford's tweet, etc., where there was a almost all rookie roster that C9 was going to run, and this is 2021 going into 2022, and this is like if I'm not a part of the team. And that was going to be Copy, King, and Isles with Blabber and APA. That is just going to be a last place team. Because I think that also that would have led to Max leaving. And I think that was also when Fudge basically said that he would rather have joined TSM. If I wasn't going to join, Max wasn't going to join. And... or Max wasn't going to stay, I wasn't going to join, etc. And then if that would have been the roster. So C9, throughout the last couple of years, they also delegate a lot of the responsibilities to scouting towards some of the players. So in some cases, it's the players that do the scouting, and then in other cases, it is the upper management at C9. Whenever the upper management does the scouting at C9, it's always something. So it's always something, because you have non-experts trying to hire experts. But anyways, sometimes when the players end up doing it, the players get clouded by certain things. And I'm trying to be really politically correct here. Thanatos is good. Is he this demigod from LCK Challenger Series that is going to summit everyone? No, he's not. When Summit arrived to LCS in 2022, Summit was just absolutely lane gapping everyone, solo killing people, XP gapping. It was really apparent that there was you and there was Summit in 2022. And obviously Summit was abusable by certain things, and that was like his own play tendencies and stuff, but we saw it again this year even in play-ins. There was the other top laner, and there was Summit. And that was what Thanatos was supposed to be. Thanatos was not that. And that's an acquisition. How are we doing on time, actually? Okay, we still got time. That was an acquisition.
You're good.
Yeah, that was an acquisition that the hype doesn't match the reality, because player scouting and identifying what actually makes a good player and stuff is a really specific skill set. And I think Vigar V2, for the most part, is actually really good at this. If you look at a lot of his lists, because Vigar V2, much like me, puts out like lists like well in advance before players are notable. In Vigar V2, I think with the Skewmond acquisition, Vigar V2 is one of the few people actively talking about him. He has like lists dating back to 2022 about people before they joined LEC and how they would end up performing and all this other type of stuff. I think Vigar V2 very much so cares about certain things like this. I cannot, and I have not confirmed this, I did not message Vigar V2 about this, I cannot for the life of me believe that Vigar V2 has any part in Loki's acquisition at C9. I have been told that 2 other people are behind Loki's acquisition at C9. Loki is not, I remember sitting here with Griffin when we saw the news, and Griffin just burst out laughing because, 1, he's not even a good solo queue player, and then 2, his performance in LCKCL is also leaves much to be desired. Now, it's not his fault for accepting. He should accept. And obviously, I'm not trying to criticize or flame Loki here, but he's not an import level player. So it's just it's a really weird acquisition, and C9 are entering their TSM arc because I attribute this acquisition to be, well, this acquisition with Thanatos to be very akin to the Sword Art acquisition. In the sense that like other people are driving it. Sword Art, I guess, was more name-based, or like maybe this is more like, I don't even know if I can say it's like Shengyi or whatever, because I guess that was just actually like a fucking Ponzi scheme with Peter Zhang. Yeah, okay, I guess we'll end it at that. But anyways, APA, how are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to hear this rant.